Okay.
Well, my name is Johan Clark. I'm Chilean, though I lived a certain amount of time in the U.S. in New York, and well, I'm a political scientist and historian. I came back to Chile back in 2010, and I've been loving to be back in my country. I come from a like lower middle class, working class family here in Chile. My father, he was a member of the union of the mining industry, and my mother, she was a housewife, like a typical housewife here in Hispanic America. Well, the thing is that due to the political events that happened here in Chile back in 1973, we had a democratically elected president, but then we had a coup d'etat led by the head of the army, General Augusto Pinochet, and then we had a 17-year dictatorship. And because of my father's job in the mining industry and his membership in the union, well, unfortunately, that was considered. He was considered to be a communist, even though my father wasn't any member of the Communist Party. So, well, we were picked up from our home, put on a plane, and the next thing we know is that that plane was flying off to Mexico, and that's when we get stripped of their Chilean citizenship and became refugees, first in Mexico, Venezuela, Spain, Canada, and the United States. We thought we were just the only family in that situation, but then we found out we were like about 2,000 families scattered throughout the world, because the thing is that the dictatorship, they just took the people, put them on the planes, and the plane was any plane. So a lot of people ended up in Australia, Europe, in our case, in Mexico. And then we ended up living in the U.S. There was a politician here in Chile. He was a member of the deposed government, and he created an NGO in the U.S. Sadly, he was assassinated. He was the first political assassination in Washington, D.C., Orlando Letelier. And then his wife, she carried out the NGO's work. And thanks to that NGO, and many of us got the citizenship, in my case, from the U.S., in recognition of our human rights violations. So, and then we were relocated first in Miami, and then to the Bronx in New York City. So I grew up there. Obviously, the U.S., the Bronx was not what it is today. The Bronx back then was like really tough. But I'm a very grateful person because, well, first of all, I'm alive. My parents are still alive, and we were given the chance to start anew, start a new life in the U.S. And that's how I could study, learn English. We had discussed this, the idea of returning to Chile, but my parents were not comfortable because they didn't know what to expect in Chile, and to me I was just waiting for them to make up their minds. So we finally decided to return to Chile in 2010. That's where I started the process to get my Chilean citizenship again. It took me about 2 years, the whole process, and almost like a DNA test to prove I was the same baby that left the country, because I left when I was 4 months old. And to me, everything was new. I mean, I just found a beautiful country, very modern, safe up to some point. But to my parents, it was kind of a shocking situation, because they returned to a country that they didn't recognize. I mean, the country they always talked about, especially when we had the Chilean meetings in the U.S. It was a country, like a rural country, not as modern as it is today. So when they came back, it was practically like a new country, and it was to them quite a shock. They just adjusted, like that. But to me, like I said, everything was new. Like I was discovering the country, meeting my own family and relatives. So, well, I've been having quite a blast ever since I returned. I started working at a college as a professor, but then During the pandemic, I decided I started doing the tours about 10 years ago as a freelance tour guide, but I just did it on the weekends, just like a side gig. And then during the pandemic, I said, okay, I think I could do something else, and that's when I decided to do the tours full time. So I just became in love with my own country, and now I feel pretty much part of this society, pretty much integrated. I do go back to the U.S. occasionally, like every 2 years, to visit my friends, most of my friends and family, even though like they're not blood relatives. The Hispanic people living with us in the Bronx became our relatives. I have a brother still there. He is a U.S. Marine. He lives in Quantico, Virginia. And my second brother, I'm the oldest. My second brother, he married a girl from Texas, and they're now living here in Chile with my nephew. And my sister, she moved to France. She went backpacking, and then she met a French guy, and I'm a happy uncle. Okay. If I had one wish for the world, it would be to recover a verb that is missing in all of these equations, especially in Western societies. That is compromise. We need compromise. We need to understand that it doesn't matter where we sit in the political spectrum. You can be from the right, left, center, non-political if you like, but compromise is necessary. We need to understand, for example, that the older people, they have a wealth of experience, but also the older people have to understand that the world they're trying to tie up right now is not necessarily the world they're going to live in. So a little bit of compromise in family, in your very family, is necessary. And as a very divided Western society today, what we do need is to compromise. So if that is accomplished, well, that'll be, yeah, why not? A perfect world.
Yeah.